Well, Amber and Johhny, when relationships get toxic. Welcome back, guys. This is Sally Graham from In Contrast, bringing you keys and strategies towards better conversations. Let's get into it. So, look, there's been 6 weeks of interviews, trials, and a whole big backstory to this couple and the very relatively short period of time that they were married. And so there's all sorts of different components. The actual legal battle that we're going through, the defamation battle that is being watched by thousands of people at the moment, is really quite a simple one. But let me say this, when we're talking about toxic relationships, nothing simple. It's not simple. And I thought by way of demonstrating this, I'll tell you a little story, okay? Let's just take the heat off Amber and Johhny that for a minute. That they're doing very well at sort of dragging out all the baggage and the drama and the bad behaviours and the substances that they were taking and their bathroom habits. Too much information. And often this is the case with toxic sort of relationships. So let me give you a little example. When I was 20, probably 27, maybe 26, maybe 25, anyway, round about that age, my first husband, he wasn't my husband at the time, he was my boyfriend, and I went to a party, and we'd gone to a party, was relatively close to home, it wasn't too far away, and we got very, very drunk, and I decided that I was going home. And so I got in the car and I was drinking beer. I had a bottle of beer in my hand, and Max came along, and he decided that I think we had an argument in the car, and he decided that he was going to go back into the party. And as he got out of the car, we're in Australia, so the driver's seat's on this side and the passenger seat's on this side. So he got out. I was driving because I was drunk. He got out of the car and walked around across in front of the windscreen and flipped me off. Flipped the bird. That angered me at the time. And so I just instantly, spontaneously threw my bottle at him through what I thought was, I'm winding like this because I'm that old that, did you know back in the day we used to have to wind the car window down? You didn't have a button to wind the window down. Anyway, I thought the window was down. The window wasn't down, and I threw a full bottle of beer out the window at him. Now, of course, the window was actually up, so glass smashed all over the road, all over the street. Max was furious. How dare you, he said. You're such an inconsiderate cow. I think there were some other C words in there as well. But because I don't think he actually ever called me a cow, but he did call me the C word. Anyway, so he said, you're so inconsiderate. You're just such an awful person. You've broken that glass there. We're at a friend's party. You need to clean it up. So I went inside to get a broom, and whilst I was inside getting a broom to clear up, he got in the car and drove home, or wherever. I assumed that he drove home. So I cleaned up the glass, and by this point I'm feeling contrite. I'm so sad. I've had I'm a drunken, terrible person, and I'm cleaning up the glass. And so I start walking home. When I got home, the car was in the driveway and the house was locked. I'm tapping on the glass. on the window. Oh, let me in. Let me in. I'm so sorry. But the more that I tapped on the glass, can you imagine? I thought, he's in there. He's in there mocking me. Rotten sod. And so I started yelling louder. Let me in, I tell you, or I'm gonna break one of these windows. We were heroin addicts, alcoholics, pill popping, marijuana smoking, albeit without the glitz and the glamour. But it's the same story. It's the same storyline. And when I hear these stories it's the same storyline, and it is the storyline of drugs and alcohol. So I'm tapping on the window, let me in, I'm so sorry, I'm a terrible person. Anyway, he didn't let me in. So I imagined that he was just being obnoxious. So I went and I smashed the smallest window of the house that I could find, which was the little toilet window, and I put my hand through, unlocked the door, and got in. When I got into the bedroom where he was actually passed out on the this is the ludicrous trigger warning, okay? If I didn't say trigger warning before, trigger warning. So there he is, and he's passed out on the bed, and that infuriated me. So I slapped him. I slapped his face. Well, he's come too, outraged, of course, because that's outrageous. What are you doing? You slapped my face. And I said, well, I've had to come in and I've broken the glass. He said, you better not have. Well, I have, and here we go. And he said, rightio, listen, I've got a solution to this. You've slapped me, and that's angered me, and I'm going to be angry unless you let me slap you back. In fact, because of everything you've done now, I think I should be able to punch you because you slapped me. Now, at the time, that seemed quite reasonable. So I dwell there for a minute. At the time, that seemed quite reasonable. I thought, fair enough, yes, I've slapped you. I've broken the glass in the window. I broke the glass at the. So he got me by the scruff. There's a scruff at the back, but anyway, he got me by the scruff and pushed me onto the bed, and he's winding up. And of course, the thing is, I don't know if you've ever had to just try and receive a smack in the chops, but I found it very difficult to. So each time he went to punch me in the face, my instinct was to move, which angered him all the more. This is a ludicrous story, isn't it? But it's a true toxic story. What actually happened was, I don't know if he connected with me at some point. I don't think he did. I literally think that we both passed out. We were so drunk and drugged up, and it was such a ludicrous thing that we both passed out. I remember waking up. I woke up with him still on me, still holding the front of my shirt like that. And we laughed. We laughed because it's relative. Now, I don't want, when we get up in arms, I do not condone violence towards partners. I do not condone domestic violence. I do not in any way condone what children watch and what people go through. But then what happens is we want courts to extra. How would you, this is what I'd be interested in. I'd love you to, in your comments below, how would you adjudicate that? There's a backstory. There's childhood trauma on both of our parts. We were both adults, and yet in this very, very toxic, traumatic relationship, we were incapable of negotiating and working those things out together. That was in the beginnings of our relationship. So I would say that we were mutually abusive. We were hardwired. And I have in my wedding ring, I have the scripture that says a 3-cord strand is not easily broken. And I, to this day, would say that that is so, so very true. A 3-cord strand is not easily broken. Myself and my husband, Dave, now are united. There's him, there's me, and there's the Holy Spirit. There's Jesus. We are united in our love for God and our pursuit of and desire to be disciples of Jesus and the way, his way. Max and I were also united in but the 3-cord strand, the thing that drew us together and held us together in this terrible toxic relationship, was our addiction. We were both addicts. We were addicts. We had the most extraordinary, in some ways, relationship. We laughed like I've never laughed in my life before, maybe a little manic. And that's the complexity of these sorts of relationships. They're not just cut and dry. It's not just, oh, that's just 100% horrible. Obviously, there are things that draw you to one another in the beginning. There are reasons that you get together. There are things that you appreciate and really value about each other. There's often this word of potential. There's potential here. I see the potential in my partner. Can I say to you, though, when we press pause on our emotional development at whatever age, have a think about it. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this thought. What age did you start taking drugs and alcohol to solve your problems? Or whatever addiction your preference is. You might be hiding away watching porn or gaming, and that's your obsession, and you can't get away from that, and that's all around you, and it's interfering in the way you have relationship with people. It's interfering in the way that you solve your problems or just have arguments. You know, people, we need to be able to have healthy arguments where we can have some boundaries and some respect for one another. But at what age? Let me know in the comments below. At what age did you press that pause button? At what age do you recognise, actually, I now see that my emotional development needs improving, and I'm going to press play here and take some accountability for my own life and for my own emotional development. I want to encourage you that you can do it. If you are in a domestic violence or a toxic relationship, it might not even necessarily be a partner. This can happen in friendships, in workplace relationships, where this dynamic begins between individuals and sometimes even groups. But I want you to stop take. Can we stop take? If that's you, or you're in that situation, either you're the perpetrator or you're the victim, you're involved on some level, and again, there's this overlap of participation. Can you do a stop take? Oh, you need to disengage from that situation. Once that toxic interaction begins, it's very, very hard for it to break. A 3-cord strand, remember, is not easily broken. It can be broken, but not easily. So in the positive, that's great. If it's my 3-cord is me, my husband, and God, that's fantastic. Or me, my husband, and we just have this love for each other, fantastic. Me, my partner, my husband or my colleague, whatever, and this toxic addiction that is not easily broken, but it can be broken. So I want to encourage you. The first step comes from disengaging. And the sad thing about the Amber and Johhny Heard trial is that it's almost, there's this sense that this toxic interaction between them continues in the court system now. And all of the complexity, I told you my ghastly story, it's dragging out all the ghastly nuances of addictive, toxic relationships where the strand, the thing that holds them together. So can you do that this week? Consider one of the things, maybe do a stock take of all of the relationships in your life. It's an interesting thing. What are the things there? What are the elements that hold me in that relationship? What's the three-chord strand in that particular relationship? Is it a positive one? Or is it actually pretty negative and toxic? And do I need to actually separate myself? Regardless of where you are on the spectrum, once we separate ourselves, then we can have some time for self-evaluation. And that's something that's really helpful if you can do that with a health professional, with a mentor. Find a great mentor, someone who can speak into your world, get a fantastic podcast. There's a whole range these days. We have great luxury of resources available to us. So can I encourage you to be a little brave and a little bold this week? Do a stock take. Do that stock take once every year. How am I going? Maybe have a catch up. Maybe I'm going to go have a catch up with that mentor, with that person, with a person, or find a new mentor, find someone fresh for this new season as your body returns. That's why going to prison for me, even though I did still take drugs in prison, but going to prison for me meant that actually I had a break for a while from the drugs and my brain was being fed. I was getting three meals a day, so my brain was getting healthy again. Hydrated, drink lots of water. Don't forget your snacks. So, bless you guys. Add some things in the comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button if you're interested in my ramblings, and we'll see you next time.